Hare Krishna. So today we'll give a talk on a verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, Text 23. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sattvam rajastama iti prakrite gunastaye yuktaha parapurusha eka ihasya datte stityadhaye hare virinchi hareti samgyaha shreyamsi tatra kalu sattvatano nrinam syuhu. The transcendental personality of Godhead is indirectly associated with the three modes of material nature, namely passion, goodness, and ignorance. And just for the material world's creation, maintenance, and destruction, he accepts the three qualitative forms of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Of these three, all human beings can derive ultimate benefit from Vishnu, the form of the quality of goodness. So it's saying that we should take to the worship of Vishnu, and there's many stories of this creation. And it's a common question people have: how's the material universe created? How's it maintained and how's it destroyed? So when Brahma was born, he found himself on this lotus flower floating above Vishnu. But he couldn't see Vishnu. He just thought he was the only being in existence. So he climbed down the lotus flower for millennia and found no end to it. And he surrendered. He climbed back up. He gave up. He climbed back up the lotus flower, climbed back up the stem, sat on the top of the lotus, and meditated for a very long time. Until, by the mercy of Divya Saraswati, he got the mercy of how to create. He learned this art from Divya Saraswati, and the first beings he created were the Four Kumars, and these four boys, Sanaka, Sanatan, Sanandan, and Sanat Kumar, who are considered a single incarnation because they're always together. And Brahma was very pleased with this first creation. He wanted them to be the progenitors of the material world, but they refused to do so. They decided to remain celibate brahmacharis for the duration of their existence. So Brahma became extremely angry, and from his Agnya chakra between his eyebrows, Lord Shiva was created, or Rudra, who originally had the form of Aradhana Ishvara, was half man, half woman, this hermaphrodite being, Rudri. And then they separated into Rudra and Rudri, who were again separated into 11 different forms each, and so many different pastimes of Rudra are there. But the Four Kumars are famous for being staunch brahmacharis, and although they have the bodies of small children, they're actually the greatest, wisest sages, and they were involved in a lila with the gatekeepers of Vaikuntha, Jai and Vijay, where they wanted to enter Vaikuntha to see Lord Vishnu, their Lord, but the gatekeepers, seeing that they were naked, would not let them through the gates of Vaikuntha. So they cursed Jai and Vijay to take birth on the earth planet, and they did, in the form of Arjun, two twin Arjun trees in Vraj Bhumi. So in Dwapar Yuga, during the Krishna lila, Mother Yashoda was Krishna was suckling at the breast of Mother Yashoda, and she put him down to go and stir the milk that was on the stove because it was boiling over. She was making burfi for Krishna, and Krishna started crying, but Mother Yashoda was so focused on her seva, that by the time she turned round, and this is a lesson that Sukadeva Goswami says in the Srimad Bhagavatam, that we should have rapt attention in this first canto. This is a quality that we should have: rapt attention, rapture, divine rapture. And so Krishna, by the time Mother Yashoda turned round, Krishna had gone, and she followed him into the next room, found this series of buttery footprints leading into the onto the veranda. So she went out, and he ran away down the steps on his little legs, and she chased him with a switch, but she didn't use the cane. She grabbed him by his Ganesham arm and thought what to do. She thought that she better discipline this child, or he'll become some gunda or dacoit in his later life. And she tried to bind him. We've heard this story so many times, many of us, but perhaps you haven't. She tried to bind him with a rope that she got, and the rope would never reach, trying to bind him to the butter churn. But even though she asked neighbours, many of the other elderly gopis, to fetch rope, and they tied it all together to create a great long length, it still wouldn't reach around the waist of Krishna, even though he was just a small child. And they became very perplexed by this. And it was only when Mother Yashoda started crying out of deep motherly affection for Krishna, this Vatsalya Bhav that she had, that Krishna became conquered by her pure love and allowed himself to be bound to the butter churn. So Mother Yashoda goes back to the stove to finish making the burfi, and Krishna starts to drag the butter churn down the steps of the veranda into the garden, where these two Arjun trees, which are actually Jai and Vijay in their cursed form, cursed by the Four Kumars, are standing. And eventually Krishna drags the butter churn between the two trees, and displaying great strength, even though he had the form of a child, he uprooted the trees, and Jai and Vijay were liberated and allowed to return to their seva back in Vaikuntha. But then when Mother Yashoda came out, she was astonished. She saw these uprooted trees in her baby Krishna with the butter churn, and she had no idea that Krishna was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. She just assumed some demon had been coming trying to attack her Krishna, and became extremely overwhelmed with fear. So we can see that the residents of Vrindavan, although always immersed in ecstasy, sometimes display many astonishing emotions such as fear and perplexment. But so the import of this lila, I'll leave up to you to meditate on and find some realization there. But we should remember that these leelas are not mundane. They contain a great wealth of spiritual nourishment, which, if we have the heart purified by the chanting of Nam Japa, we will be able to realize it.